board meeting of the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey and its component units is now called to order. The committees on Audit and Finance met in executive session on March 7th, 2018. In addition, earlier today, the committees on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management met in public session, and the Committee on Finance met in public and executive session. Their reports will be filed with the official minutes of today's board meeting. The Commissioners also met in executive session earlier today to discuss matters involving ongoing negotiations or reviews of contracts or proposals, matters related to personnel or personnel procedures, and matters related to proposed, pending, or current litigation or judicial or administrative proceedings, and to discuss and act upon matters related to the purchase, sale, and lease of real estate property where disclosure would impact and affect the value therein of the public interest. At this time, we are going to turn to our Executive Director, Rick Cotton. A month ago, we said, as we were building up to this, that this was going to be we said this meeting was going to be sleepy, or this meeting was going to be routine, and it is anything but routine, Rick. So having that as your segue, let's talk about your executive report for this month.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to deliver a somewhat abbreviated version of my normal monthly report because I want to then turn to present to the board two very important resolutions. So let me begin with my monthly report. We are in the process of emerging from our latest nor'easter, and I want to report to the board that the Port Authority's facilities performed well and handled the impacts of all of the March nor'easters extremely well. The agency went on high alert and was well prepared as soon as the storm predictions were first made. The agency's organization-wide emergency operations center was activated well in advance of the arrival of each storm, and each of the airport's individual emergency operations centers were also activated well ahead of each storm. All facilities topped up their supplies of fuel, sand, salt, and other needed supplies. I commend the staff and the employees in all parts of the organization for their hard work over the past 48 hours and in the prior March storms. I also can't resist taking note of the CFO's report on the agency's 2017 financial results. These were very strong results with strong growth of revenues, as she stated, across all our main business areas. It is also noteworthy, particularly from the point of view of the organization, that outside of four specific items that are not rooted in our day-to-day operations, the agency's costs were flat, reflecting broad cost discipline across the organization, and I believe the organization is due great commendation for its discipline. Turning to two important aspects of our capital plan, last month the board approved major expenditure for Terminal 1 at Newark Airport. We are committed to ensuring that the $2.7 billion Newark Airport Terminal 1 construction project gets off to a fast start and has oversight in place to have on-time and on-budget performance. This project to build a major world-class 21st century terminal at Newark is a key aspect of our overall goal of providing airports that the region and the two states deserve. We expect a groundbreaking in the spring, and we are committed to delivering that. I also want to report to the board that there is significant interest among existing terminal operators, some partnering with private investors to expand and modernize JFK Airport consistent with the vision plan developed by Governor Cuomo's Airport Advisory Panel. I would point out to the board that with the LaGuardia construction project underway, with the Terminal 1 construction project about to begin at Newark, and with the planning for construction projects at JFK, the board and the agency is on the verge of having major construction projects at all three of its airports. Finally, I would like to take note of the comments that Derek Utter made in focusing on ensuring that the agency's capital projects are managed as well as possible. We will be putting in place, as Derek said, important changes to capital project management at the Port Authority, particularly to ensure that the hundreds of smaller projects in the capital plan, as well as our larger mega projects, are well managed. These changes will target each step of the capital delivery life cycle. I am a strong supporter of this initiative that will involve not only Derek's team, but the engineering department, all the line organizations, and many of the staff organizations as well. We will keep the board appraised of the impact of these changes. Mr. Chairman, that concludes my abbreviated monthly report, and at this time, with your permission, I would like to turn to two very important resolutions to present to the board. Both of these resolutions involve the women and men who carry out the Port Authority's mission day to day. The work of the Port Authority cannot be done and cannot be done well without motivated and dedicated workers. I want to put two resolutions before the board and recommend that the board act favorably on both. The first resolution addresses the expired labor agreements with unions representing the Port Authority's more than 5,000 represented workers. The second addresses workers at our airports. First, let me address the represented workers at the Port Authority. The Port Authority's unionized employees, all of them represented by 23 distinct labor unions, are working without a contract. This is obviously not an acceptable situation. Multiple unions have been without a contract for more than a decade. The absence of a contractual commitment between the agency and its represented employees is at odds with the need to do right by workers who faithfully serve the public every day. With respect to Port Authority labor relations, this is truly an extraordinary time that requires unusual action. Not only are all of the Port Authority's unionized employees working without a contract, but the union contract most recently negotiated between Port Authority staff and union representatives was presented to the board during 2017, and it was not approved. This situation simply must change. Against this extraordinary backdrop, I want to present to the board a resolution in which the board would take an unusual, indeed even an extraordinary action, which would be time-limited in its effect. In particular, the resolution would authorize the executive director to assign a special negotiating team to immediately begin negotiations with any interested Port Authority labor union or unions, and the board would delegate to the chairman of the Board of Commissioners and the executive director the authority to jointly approve any labor agreements that emerge from such negotiations. This delegation would remain in effect only until August 1st, 2018. Any proposed labor agreements signed by both the chairman and the executive director under this delegation on or before August 1st would become effective upon ratification by the relevant union without need of any further action on the part of the Board of Commissioners. In exercising their delegated authority, the chairman and the executive director would comply with the terms of the delegation, which have been outlined in executive session to the board. The proposed delegation would make it crystal clear that the Port Authority is serious about creating the conditions for rapid progress with respect to labor relations, and about opening a real window of opportunity during which progress can culminate, if at all possible, through committed, good faith bargaining in executed labor agreements that benefit our workers, the agency, and the public. The point of the resolution is to set a time frame within which to make progress and to give confidence to all parties at the negotiating table that an agreement concluded at the bargaining table and ratified by union members will definitively come into effect. Mr. Chairman, I urge the board's favorable consideration of that resolution, but I would also like to put the second resolution on the table as well.
Before we get to the second one, Rick, and we're going to reserve comments for the most part until later on in the meeting. When we got here, Rick, in August, I think you and I and the new composed board here were somewhat shocked. I was, that we had 23 bargaining units that were out from 05, 06, 07, and we said then in August it was appalling that that circumstance existed. And we committed, all of us at that time, that we were going to do something dramatic, and we've made some effort. Last month, we sat here as we talked about what are we going to do with regard to those two issues, the open contracts and the minimum wage. And we, at the last meeting, this board, we challenged ourselves. And we said we're going to come back within 60 days, and we're going to address the minimum wage issue with certainty, and we're going to address this open contract that's been dragging on for over 12 years with some certainty. So at the end of your presentation, I know we have a special speaker, Governor Murphy, who's going to speak. We are then going to come back to the commissioners, and we are going to vote independently on both of those resolutions, both on the delegated authority and on the minimum wage. So having said that, why don't you talk about what the resolution is on minimum wage that we have put before this board?
So, Mr. Chairman, the second resolution is proposing an amendment to the board's and the agency's minimum wage policy. And with the chair's permission, I would like to discuss the background and the very important rationale for this amendment. Our airports are fundamental pillars of regional prosperity and vitality. Together, they serve over 130 million passengers each year, handle vast quantities of cargo, and connect New York and New Jersey to the nation and to the broader world beyond. But as the airports have grown, so too have the challenges and the burdens. Storms are both more frequent and more intense. Security has become the top priority for airports, along with safety. And in places, the physical facilities of the airports, our airports, have become badly outdated. The Port Authority airports must be brought up to 21st century standards in all respects. And this is precisely what is happening now. Port Authority has embarked on a systematic effort to rebuild and upgrade every aspect of our airports. This effort includes an intense focus on security and safety, on effective functioning in storms, on greatly improved customer service, and on the use of modern customer-facing technology. This effort also includes a set of multi-billion-dollar, once-in-a-generation construction projects which will radically remake each of the Port Authority's airports and greatly improve access to them. I should take note that these efforts have had the vigorous support of the board and of the two states and the senior leadership of both states. Governor Cuomo has been a champion of major infrastructure improvements over his 7+ years in office, with a particular focus on transportation infrastructure. Governor Murphy, who has joined us here today, as he has come into office, has been an ardent and outspoken advocate of the need for infrastructure upgrades, with a particular focus also on transportation and transit. This overarching effort to achieve world-class airports, however, cannot succeed if the men and women who work at the airports do not do their jobs well. And people cannot be expected to perform at the level we need, the Port Authority needs, if they are not paid appropriately. Airport workers deserve a fair and appropriate wage. And today is a great day for airport workers striving for economic justice. The Port Authority, with no less urgency, requires a motivated, stable, and well-trained workforce at our airports. And I want again to take note, Mr. Chairman, that you and the other board members have been focused on airport workers and the role they play in our airport's operations, as have the leaders in New York and New Jersey, the two states we serve. Governor Cuomo has been outspoken on these issues throughout his 2 terms. Without his leadership, we would not be where we are today. And Governor Murphy has been ardent in articulating his support for action on these issues. We are energized and tremendously respectful of his views, and without his support, we would not be able to take today's initiative. Now, in particular, I want to call to the board's attention the importance of the minimum wage policy to the Port Authority's operation of our airports. We need airport workers in all categories capable of receiving and acting on enhanced security training. Upgraded security screening and training will encounter unnecessary challenge in the face of continued high rates of employee turnover. That is why the board enacted a minimum wage policy in 2014 for airport workers. And that is why the board has continued to discuss, and this board has continued to discuss and debate this issue in public and also over the years in executive session. Studies establish that a rise in wages reduces worker turnover and improves worker performance and productivity, including with respect to customer service and the proper use of sensitive and valuable equipment. A study of thousands of workers at San Francisco Airport following an increase in its minimum wage policy found strikingly that turnover decreased from 25% to 44% in various job categories. Hundreds of Port Authority airport employees have spoken at board meetings during recent years. It is crystal clear in listening to these workers that low wages have undermined employee morale, served as a deep workplace distraction, encouraged turnover, and raised the specter of labor disruption. All of this has a negative impact on the Port Authority's operation of the airports. Assuring that minimum wages provide workers with an adequate level of compensation in today's world and in the high-cost environment of the New York, New Jersey metropolitan area, implemented on a gradual and phased-in basis, can be expected to have a beneficial across-the-board impact on reducing turnover and enabling a better trained workforce, particularly with respect to security and security procedures, on customer service, on productivity, on the safe and efficient use of airport equipment, and on the airport's ability to attract and keep workers who will over time get to know the new airport infrastructure being built by the Port Authority and be better prepared and more knowledgeable in assisting in emergency situations, as well as having improved ability to detect any irregular circumstances that could signal danger. Operating an airport in the 21st century means meeting higher and higher expectations, measured against increasing global standards in a more and more challenging environment on multiple fronts. The Port Authority intends to meet those expectations and those challenges, and minimum wage increases are key and a foundation to achieving those objectives. As I said at the outset, nothing is more important than the safe and secure operation of the airport. The Port Authority's Chief Security Officer strongly believes that in light of the most pressing current security threats to the airports, well-trained and highly motivated airport workers can substantially enhance overall airport security. He lists, among other things, being well-versed in emergency procedures and knowledgeable enough to assist airport staff and security forces during any emergencies, and by hewing to the directive to say something if they see something. A higher minimum wage raise would enable the Port Authority to work with employers and relevant unions to develop recurring training that would contribute significantly to our airport security operations. Finally, it bears noting that operating our airports should function as a unified whole, as integrated pieces of a larger system. Airport wages across our airports should be in parity with each other, so that uniform security and other policies can be implemented across all our airports without concern about how they might be affected by different wage scales at different airports. It is time to end the disparity that exists today. Yes, against this backdrop, the resolution proposes that the minimum wage policy issued by the Port Authority during 2015 be amended to cover, first, to cover additional categories of airport workers, in particular including catering workers.
Ladies and gentlemen, respectfully, if we can just finish the meeting. I appreciate your enthusiasm, very much so, but let's get through the rest of this.
All of these workers are integral to the effective operation of the airports. Second, the resolution proposes to increase the airport minimum wage to $19 an hour.
Thank you.
This increase to $19 an hour would be This increase of the airport minimum wage to $19 an hour would be implemented on a phased-in schedule, which is up on the screen behind the board. The resolution further provides that the proposed amended minimum wage policy be published for public comments for 60 days, and that the board, subject to comments received from all stakeholders and from the public, take a final and binding vote at its June meeting to adopt the relevant rules. Mr. Chairman, I ask the board to give both these resolutions favorable consideration.
Thank you very much, Executive Director. Thank you very much. So we're clear. This is a proposal, if passed today, will be held out for 60 days for public comment. We will come back in May, end the public comment, have a 30-day review, and we anticipate having a final vote, amended or otherwise, in June. Before we get into our own comments and our own feelings about it, we do have a special guest who came a long way. Governor Murphy, please, the podium is all yours. Welcome. Welcome.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Vice Chairman, Commissioners, Executive Director, very well said in both resolutions, senior staff, to all those who are present, especially elected officials. I thank Mayor Fulop as our host mayor. I saw Senator Gordon. I'm told Lieutenant Governor Hochul is joining us soon, and obviously a big shout out to our brothers and sisters in organized labor. You can't blame them for being so enthused. It's been a long time coming. Good morning to you all. I'm honored to be here today to come before you as my first time as governor. And I'm here to speak specifically to the second resolution, but I want to say before I do that, that the notion of 23 open contracts as a sustainable way of doing business is no way to do business. So I applaud resolution number 1 and look forward to all those contracts being closed in short order and resolved in a way that works for everybody. I last came before this board, although it was a differently constituted board, 17 months ago on October 20th, 2016. And the reason I came here then is the same reason I stand here now. It is a problem, and this is really a plea, and I hope I'm pushing on an open door here. It is a problem that has not changed over the past 17 months, and that is in particular the disparity in wages between workers at the airports on the one hand at LaGuardia and JFK and those at Newark Liberty on the other. And I'm here today to urge you all to finally correct this as outlined in that resolution. As governor, I am committed to creating a stronger and fairer state where honest work is rewarded with honest wages that can support a family's middle-class dreams. The Port Authority has long been committed to the same goals and now must recommit to them. This is a matter of basic fairness and equity. It is a matter of dignity and putting real value in the work that thousands of men and women provide every single day to keep our airports running. At the root of this is the old politics. New York raised the minimum wage, New Jersey didn't. But instead of ensuring all employees would be paid based on the work they did, the Port Authority only raised wages for those working in New York where the law required it. Even today, we can see in the chart, this disparity continues to see workers pay based simply upon where they work, not the work they do. They should be paid based on the work they do, period, regardless of location. And this is something, it's not as though I spoke 17 months ago and walked away from this issue. This is something I've spoken about at length with folks behind me and in many cases in front of me. Ray in particular and I have shared that passion over in private conversations. Last week in my budget address, I made it clear that New Jersey will stand for an increased minimum wage and for strong workplace protections. I'm committed to working with my legislative partners to see those things through. Working families have waited long enough. The Port Authority has the opportunity to be a leader in providing fair wages for New Jersey workers. I ask you, please, do not let this opportunity elude us yet again. One way or another, the Port Authority is going to have to raise the base wages for Newark Liberty workers. You will either be doing this out of recognition that the artificially low floor and two-tiered wage system you are allowing to remain is unfair, or because, on the other hand, I have finally signed legislation to raise the wage in New Jersey. I would ask you, and I think this is a great opportunity for the Port Authority, Mr. Chairman, and your colleagues to be a leader. I ask you to recognize that the thousands of dedicated men and women who show up every day at Newark Liberty, including off-site, should not earn poverty-level wages when their colleagues a simple train ride away earn more. As I urged the board 17 months ago, be ever mindful of the name of this agency. It is the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, and not New Jersey or New York. Our region's ultimate success is inextricably linked to the success of our individual states and of our people. So I urge you, please, to finally approve the level wages for all Port Authority workers across the board. I remain confident that working together, we will be able to accomplish great things for our region and our shared economic future. We're a great example, the great work going on in each of the 3 airports as we sit here. I look forward to working with you to construct a new bus terminal for our commuters and to continue to make the case to the federal government that it be our full partner in getting Gateway from drawing board to reality. We clearly have had a good day in the past 24 hours. I salute Congressman Frelinghuysen, Senator Booker, Senator Menendez, Minority Leader Schumer. This is a great move in the right direction. There's a lot more to go, as we all know. Last week's failure at the Portal Bridge makes the perfect case for us to continue to work together to push our case. We know that our long-term economic prospects rely upon safe and reliable infrastructure. We can do these together. Just as we can work to lift the economic prospects of men and women who keep Newark Liberty Airport working for the 43 million plus passengers who walk through its terminals every year. We can do the right things both today and tomorrow. Let's be partners in building a stronger and fairer region. I urge you, I plead that you ensure wage parity for Newark Liberty's workforce. And I thank you, Mr. Chairman, for having me.
Governor, thank you. On this?
Mr. Vice Chairman, Mr. Chairman, Kevin, nice to see you, buddy.
Governor, thank you.
Honored. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, we have a couple of issues we want to wrap up before we go to speakers, and we have Nally wants to speak later. It's fine. Thank you very much. A couple issues on technically we have to talk about. Number one, any comments with regard to delegated authority? That's the first resolution we're going to tackle. You've heard the executive director very clearly talk about the need in this extraordinary time, taking an extraordinary measure and trying to make sure within 120 days, certainly by August, that we give it our best efforts to resolve the 23 open contract negotiations. Any comments or questions? Commissioner McDonald.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank you for taking a hold of this issue. I know it's so important to you, and you expressed it at the beginning, and we're going to do this, and I want to congratulate you.
Thank you.
For it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you. Any other comments? Any recusals on this? Madam Clerk.
No.
Now request a motion
So moved.
regarding delegation.
So moved.
Second. Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole.
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford.
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger.
Yes.
Commissioner Horwitz.
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera.
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe.
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald.
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino.
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado.
Yes.
Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
Motion carries. With regard to the second component on the minimum wage, heard very carefully to what the executive director talked about, heard very carefully what Governor Murphy talked about, and if you look at the timeline, the ramp up in New Jersey goes from 10:45 present day, September 1st, 18, 12:45, 9/1/19, it ramps up $3.15 to $15.60, parity from then on 16/20 every year, 17, 18, 19. I think we get there. I think you did an amazing job, Rick, with senior staff, an amazing job of pulling together all the individuals, all the interested groups. We've all sat down and had long negotiations, tough discussions. but to the point of what is good for, in fairness, we hear you. What is good for the Port Authority is really clear to be understood. When you talk about that, the study, California, Berkeley, they talk about 44% reduction in turnover when there's a higher minimum wage. You talk about the employers saying there's a better quality of service. You talk about there's a better use of the equipment. If you read those 6 or 7 associated studies in the San Francisco experiment or the Fort Lauderdale experiment, it is compelling. It is fascinating to say, you know, it took us this long to get where we have to go. I think this maps out in a fundamentally defensible rollout schedule that is fair to all parties, I think is defendable to the public in any other arena that it is disputed. Having said that, are there any commissioners, and I'm sure the commissioners want to have some say, Vice Chair Linford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to first say that all commissioners join you in what we think is an historic moment. Second of all, I wanted to leave you with the following statistics. With this agreement, we'll cover 20,000 employees. Second, it will bring wages up to at least $35,000 per year. And what's interesting to me, when you go from $10.45 to $19, or $8.55 over 6 years, that's a 13.5% per annum average increase, which I think is very, very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And along those lines, we talked about there are 75,000 badge holders currently at these 3 facilities. We have processed 44,000 applications in 2017, 33,000 in 2016. We go between 3,000 and 4,000 backgrounds a month. We believe with this passage, should it pass, that it'll cut down dramatically. The training will be increased, the backgrounds will be comprehensive, we'll have a happier workforce, a better workforce, a safer environment, a safer airport facility, and I think that's part of what we're talking about here. Other commissioners? Commissioner Ray Sino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Fellow commissioners. Thanks, Jeff. From the labor movement, my entire career, having come on this board, it was always surprising to me that we didn't have fully completed, negotiated collective bargaining agreements for those people that are already represented here, but also some people, the other workers that are here, various different stages from minimum wage up to not so very much. We did, in 2014, establish a minimum wage of some $10.10, but I continue to urge the board to move on. And the boards over the years have found it particularly challenging and complicated to get it done for whatever reasons. But today I want to commend the leadership of this board, particularly the chairman and the executive director and all of my fellow commissioners for lasering in on these particular issues to take care of workers in this Port Authority, which I think is the greatest port authority in the nation, the largest that does the most work and probably has close to as many employees as any authority in this country. And so it was surprising to me that we couldn't get this done, but now we finally got it with this board. We've not only achieved parity in terms of the workers, as was pointed out by Governor Murphy, between New York and New Jersey, but we have set it up so that we continually add to the increases over the next few years to get up to the $19 per hour, which is well-deserved for all of the workers that work for this New York and New Jersey Port Authority. So again, Chairman, board members, thank you. I'm very pleased. And if the time is right, I would like to make the motion that we approve this, these resolutions that are on board.
We'll get back to you on that, Commissioner, and you will have that right. Gary, Commissioner.
Mr. Chairman, fellow board members, I too would like to congratulate you, Mr. Chairman, and the Executive Director Cotton, and the entire board for what's happened here and literally within the last 6 months after many, many years. I joined this board. I was appointed to this board in May of last year, and I want to congratulate all of you at this table and who sit on the board for your commitment and dedication to this issue. But I do want to make one other comment as a labor leader myself to my brothers and sisters in labor. I want to also congratulate you because I recognized, even in the last 10 months, the way that you approached this board. You did it in a manner that was dignified, you did it in a manner that was respectful, and you did it in a manner that you should all be very proud of, and you made your voices heard. So congratulations to you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner McDonald.
I was going to second what Garrett said. I want to congratulate the leadership, Hector Figueroa and 32BJ and United, for what you've actually done. You've made your pain our pain. You made us feel your lives. We couldn't go home at night and put our heads on the pillow. No, seriously, but you did that, and you did it in a very effective, fair way. You respected us, and we respect you. We're all in this together. And today, we all should be very proud.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other?
Thank you, Chairman O'Toole. I am very proud to join my colleagues on the board in supporting this resolution today and echo the appreciation that's been expressed to the chairman and the executive director for their leadership and perseverance in bringing this forward to us today to take action on, and also appreciation to the workers for the way you've approached us on this issue. We've been at this a long time, so it is really positive that you've moved us to the place where we're taking action today and setting a minimum wage standard for workers at all of the region's airport. I just want to emphasize again how important this is to the Port Authority's mission in operating our regional airports in terms of security, in terms of efficiency and productivity, in terms of the customer experience for all of us who use the airports, and the importance of having motivated and well-trained workers at the airports, and addressing equity between the states and across our airports. So thank you again for your leadership, and glad we're moving forward today.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other commissioners? Commissioner Turner.
I want to thank, also to echo, I don't need it, echo Commissioner McDonald's comments that we thank you in the union and your persistence and your very specific and graphic examples of how you've needed us to try to step up on your behalf. I can say for all of us here, this is probably one of the proudest moments of our professional careers, to be able to try to do whatever we can do to help your lives and help the customers of the Port Authority in addition simultaneously. So thank you, all of you.
Any other comments or questions? Madam Clerk, do we have any recusals?
No recusals.
Ray, do you have a motion?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to make a motion that we approve these resolutions presented to us today.
I'd like to second that motion,
Gary,
Mr.
second.
Chairman.
Roll call, please.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Horwitz?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Absolutely, yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Yes. Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado?
Enthusiastically, yes.
And Commissioner Turner?
Enthusiastically, también.
Motion carries. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Our next order of business is an item that authorizes agreements with the City of Jersey City, New Jersey, to settle pending litigation with respect to payments in lieu of taxes and provide for an exchange of real property interests in connection with the replacement of a substation currently located at the Path Washington Street Powerhouse. So, perspective, there was a memorandum of understanding going back to 2008. We have the mayor, Steve Fulop, who we're going to ask to speak in a few minutes. This is another long-standing item that should have been resolved a while ago. There was an understanding in 2008, a swap of properties. Lawsuit was filed in 2014. allegations of money being owed back and forth. Significant discussions took place. A lot of litigation took place. And at some point in time recently, we said we have to try to get to the bottom of this. And I want to, first of all, I want to thank the mayor, Steve Folk, for leading a very orderly discussion and trying to resolve this. And the lawyers, Steve, did a great job. End of the day, it was your leadership that helped put this thing to bed. I really appreciate your active participation. I refer to the General Counsel, Michael Farbiage, on any issues on this proposed settlement.
So it's something that staff supports, that I personally support myself.
And this, as we understand it, Michael, resolves the outstanding litigation, it resolves the swapping of the properties, resolves for 25 years the ability for Jersey City, if Steve's still the mayor, whether he can sue or come back and claw back any other additional pilots. This is a pretty tied-up settlement that accomplishes both the pilot issue, litigation issue, powerhouse issue, and the land swap issue, correct?
Right. All of that, and it allows the path to ensure that its operations are going to happen in an effective way going forward for customers at an ideal place to build a new power station.
Before we have, and we discussed this in the board meeting before, does any commissioners who have a specific question to Michael or to the executive director or myself on this before we hear from the mayor of Jersey City? If not, Mayor, we invite you.
So I'll be brief. I know you have a long meeting, but I first want to just say thank you to all the commissioners for your support. Thank you to Rick, and a special thank you to Kevin O'Toole. As he mentioned, this has been something that's been going on between Jersey City and the Port Authority for quite some time. And ultimately, we came to the conclusion that there was no good outcome of continuing this in court. And I think what this does is it solves a lot of the issues. It'll be a benefit to customers of the Port Authority with improved path service, a potential new path station down the road, the ability to Jersey City to develop new properties, financially helping out Jersey City as well. And I think this really is a win-win for everybody. So I want to say thank you. And again, without Kevin saying that there's a better approach than just going through the court system, I don't think there was a resolution that would have happened here. So I just want to say thank you to all of you, and we really appreciate your support. It means a lot to the region. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Okay, before we ask for the vote, or any, Madam Clerk, Madam Secretary, any recusals on this?
No recusals.
Any other comments or questions? Motion, please.
So moved.
We have a second. Roll call.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Horwitz?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Commissioner McDonald? Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado? Commissioner Turner?
Motion carries. We will now provide for an opportunity for the members of the public to comment on Port Authority matters. The public comment period, which may be limited to 30 minutes in total or so, provides an opportunity for members of the public to present their views directly to the board, but does not provide for a dialogue. Members of the public wishing to discuss a specific matter with the Port Authority staff are advised to contact our Public Affairs Department. Speakers are asked to comply with a 3-minute interval limit. First speaker, I see Senator Robert Gordon. Bob, come on up.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Let me first just add my congratulations for the resolutions that you've passed today. They are long in coming, and I'm sure will have a profound impact on thousands of lives of our employees at Newark Airport. I am here today, however, to talk about another subject that I think has been on the agenda, or at least on our minds, for almost as long, and that is the subject of Port Authority reform. I am going to be moving another bill on Monday through the Senate Transportation Committee, which I chair. I have circulated copies of the draft bill to senior leadership and to you, Mr. Chairman, and I look forward to getting your comments and suggestions on how we can improve the legislation. The Port Authority Reform Bill that Senate Majority Leader Loretta Weinberg and I are putting forward enact into law many of the ethics and financial disclosure reforms that the Port Authority Board enacted during the tenure of Chairman John Degnan. However, it is important that these reforms be set permanently in statute and not simply in board bylaws that are easier to change. The most important additions to the legislation are the transparency requirements for advance notice and full public hearings on any toll or fare increases and prior to adoption or major changes in the Port Authority's crucial 10-year capital plan. We all remember how the Port Authority bridge and tunnel toll increases rose from $8 to $15 and were rushed through with little notice and with public hearings held on the same day in multiple out-of-the-way locations to suppress public reaction. Our legislation requires an independent needs assessment prior to any bridge or tunnel toll hike or path fare increase, and for that assessment to be presented at a public meeting 90 days before enactment of any increase. The bill also requires a minimum of 6 public hearings to be scheduled at times and locations convenient to the public between 30 days and 90 days prior to any Port Authority board vote. Similarly, our legislation requires the Port Authority to notify the legislatures of both states at least 60 days prior to the adoption of the 10-year capital plan or any major changes to the existing plan, and to hold public hearings in each state prior to its vote. The bill also requires the Port Authority to publish an annual report on the status of the capital plan projects and calls for independent consultants to monitor major projects. And finally, our bill establishes a legislative oversight requirement that mandates that Port Authority officials appear before legislative committees in either state when requested by the presiding officer of the New Jersey or New York Senate or Assembly. We believe this legislation is important and look forward to your suggestions on how it might be improved. I'm sure to those who've been on this board for some time, these are not new proposals. The legislation that I am advancing on Monday has moved through the legislatures of both states twice before, I think by a combined vote of 611 to 0. But we are, with a new governor in New Jersey, we're confident that we can move this forward. I'm hoping that third time is the charm. I have reached out to my counterparts in New York who are prepared to move chapter amendments to make the New York legislation identical to the New Jersey legislation, and finally put these reforms in statute form. And I respectfully request your support for this, and certainly your involvement in the process, so that we can produce a bill that will be serve us well for many decades. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Senator Gordon. Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you.
Next speaker, we have Lieutenant Governor from New York, Kathy Hochul. Welcome, Lieutenant Governor.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I am delighted to be here and speak on behalf of Governor Andrew Cuomo and the people of the state of New York about the proposal to expand the minimum wage to JFK, LaGuardia, and, of course, Newark Liberty. First of all, I want to say this has been a top priority of Governor Cuomo and his administration for 4 solid years. This is part of our initiative called the Campaign for Economic Justice, which understands that under the current minimum wage, families are just not making it anymore. And so the governor worked very hard with our friends in labor and others to ensure that New York State was the first state in the nation to have a $15 minimum wage, lifting people out of poverty, people who work 40 hours a week, who work hard day in and day out. And so we are here to talk about the employees of the Port Authority, 20,000 people who do the hard work. These are often the unseen heroes. And I'm going to tell you, as someone who I'm going to go out on a limb and say there is no state official, probably anywhere in this country, who spends more time in LaGuardia, JFK, and very often Newark than I do. And so I have seen their work. They clean our restrooms. They serve our food. They clear the tables. They take care of our baggage. They ensure our security is proper. And I want to say these individuals truly are hardworking. And the 132 million passengers who come to these ports of entry every single year often walk past there. To them, they're faceless individuals. But to us, they're the heroes. They are the people who make this system run. And all they ask in return, all they ask for their hard work and their training and their dedication to these jobs is to be paid a decent wage. And with this action today, We are saying, and as Governor Cuomo has been fighting for 4 solid years, we hear you, we understand, and we're going to get it done. So I'm very proud that you are taking this step today, commencing a series of hearings with the culmination at the end of June, and it is my sincere hope that we can deliver this to the individuals who are behind me and who are representing literally 20,000 other individuals. And so I know this is something Governor Cuomo has attempted in the past. We had a different administration in New Jersey. Today it's a new day. And I'm very proud of the new governor who is joining with Governor Cuomo to ensure that Governor Murphy and Governor Cuomo can do this for the people who work so hard in these locations. But I want to say it's not just about these individuals and their families, although that's important. There are studies that show if you pay these individuals more, there'll be more intense training, there'll be less turnover, they'll be making our airports even more secure than they are today, which is an imperative of all of us in government. And so it is with great pleasure that I am here to support this initiative and say, on top of the incredible transformation that is now going on before our eyes, and I sit in a lot of traffic waiting to see it happen, the transformation of LaGuardia, $8 billion, $10 billion at JFK, new Terminal 1 at Newark Liberty. I want to commend all of you for having the vision to say we can do it where no man or woman has gone before. We're going to get that done. So when the millions of people from around the world come to New York State, come to New Jersey as their first exposure to our great country, they will see an incredible place of beauty, infrastructure, and something that I think even Joe Biden would eventually praise someday. But never forget, it's not just about the shimmering buildings. It's about the people in them who make it work. And those are the people we're fighting for. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. We have 15 speakers listed. We're hoping we can get through it orderly. Nellie Weissman, first one on Complete the George. Neil.
Got it. Look, you widen the pass. You can call me Stephanie. It's okay. But Chairman O'Toole, thank you all, and congratulations again. In September, when you spoke for the first time, you promised to hold the agency to the highest standards of integrity and ethics, but also of customer service. And this is something I know something about, having spent 10 years managing a sales department that competed directly with Apple. You either make the customer happy or they're gone. So last month, I was forwarded your reply to Bronx Community Board 9, who had called for wider GWB paths. From a customer service perspective, I was struck by the agency's failure to address the community's concerns, much less resolve them. You have copies of both letters in your extended remarks. But CB9 is a minority working-class district of 170,000 with few subway stations and chronically overcrowded bus service. They believe the paths will, with capacity to support regional growth, will support connected facilities over Harlem River bridges and across Bronx transportation deserts. The agency responded that you'd provision access and compliance with the American with Disabilities Act. But ADA does nothing to increase cycling capacity. That is the province of AASHTO. The photo on page 1 depicts two cyclists straddling their bikes in the New Jersey approach. At 5 foot across, it is ADA compliant, but for the thousands of daily users who, AASHTO would specify 14 foot. The agency contends that its improvements will improve user experience, which is a function of path width and peak use. But it never performed a traffic count prior to approving those plans, so how could it know? You cite hundreds of millions invested in paths and Staten Island bridges, but neglect the relevance of cycling across the Bronx. You said you may consider widening at some point in the future, but provide neither date nor criteria, which begs the question, if you don't do this now, when the cost is minimal, how will you ever find the political will? The agency cites input and approval of several advocacy groups, yet omits the now 240 organizations and communities asking for more, including project stakeholders. Mr. Chairman, the agency has circulated the same faulty arguments since 2014. If this is the Port Authority's new customer service, perhaps the public should petition Apple to take on mass transit, or Amazon if we are so chosen. Seattle takes cycling infrastructure very seriously. Either way, the competition should spur the agency to the level of service to which you aspire and to which it is surely capable. I wish my remarks more reflected the spirit of the day, but thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Murray Bowden?
The issue of the Florida pedestrian bridge that collapsed and how it affects the Port Authority. Kevin, I'd like the discussion to be with you in particular because you have the power to do something about it. I'll explain to you why the bridge collapsed. It's like the Bayonne Bridge where you have the cable stayed, only Florida uses a modified cable stayed where they use a box instead of a flat roadway to reduce the height of the tower. And so they constructed it somewhere else and brought it to the site on a roller, similarly the way they do with a rocket at Cape Canaveral. They put it on rollers and they move it there slowly. They made one mistake. They forgot to put the base in for the tower. So when they put it there, the middle was unsupported. Now, in Bayonne, you have two towers upon which the cables go up. And the reason they use the box support is so that you can reduce the size of the tower. And one of the articles says it was aesthetic, and somebody else. And Florida's been using that system for a long time. But they never put the base in. How can you put the base underneath the bridge if it's already installed? And nobody has said a word. So how does this relate to the Port Authority? Last time I was here, I asked you to look at the traffic lights and railroad crossings, and I don't know whether you did or not, but it's the same phenomena. These people who are respected engineers have said we can use red and... But the respected engineers were responsible for the collapse of the pedestrian bridge in Florida. So far, I have seen zero in the paper about it. Because if they say they forgot to put the base in, somebody is in a lot of trouble. I can't solve the problem. You're in a position to ask these questions officially. That base should have been there so that when they put it down, the length of the span was reduced by half. You have the experience right here with the Bayonne Bridge, the Kosciuszko Bridge, the Tappan Zee Bridge, all done on a base. You have a responsibility. I can't do it. You can ask the question.
Thank you. Patrick Jean? I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Keep it very short. My name is Patrick Jean, and I work for Scott Chef at JFK. And I want to thank you for proposing a new wage policy. That would mean so much to me and my family. And I'll pass the information to my coworkers. I thank you for your hard work.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Hector Figueroa, President of 32B JAG.
Thank you, Chairman, Director, Commissioners. I'm also going to be very brief. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for having been making this decision today. It is really for the workers to celebrate appropriately today. This is a minimum wage policy that will reduce turnover, and it will contribute as the strongest foundation in the country for airport workers to be able to have good jobs and provide for their families by giving the services that we expect them to give. They are ready to do it. They are ecstatic. We want to thank you. We want to thank both governors, Governor Cuomo, for being a steadfast champion and ally on low-wage workers, not just at the airport, but really in trying to make it possible for workers to attain the kind of standards that we need at this moment in the economy. He's been there from day one. We want to thank Governor Murphy, who spoke here earlier, and Lieutenant Governor Hochul, because they too have been champions of this cause. And all I want to say to you in Spanish, gracias, si se puede, and we look forward to continue to work with you. in any issues that affect the workforce at the airports. It's a very strong foundation. We have much more to do over the years to be able to make sure that every worker meets the needs of the job in the way that the 21st century calls for. You have a partner in 32BJ. We are the largest airport service union in the country now, and you can count on us to make sure that our 3 airports are, and all the other facilities of the Port Authority are the best that they can be. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Beverly Thompson. Beverly Thompson. Next one up is Rafael Ortega. Yeah, I'm trying to get him.
My name is Beverly Thompson. I'm from Newark Airport, OTG Management, and we just want to thank you. We appreciate everything that you have done for us.
Thank you. Rafael Ortega, followed by Lyndall Lawrence.
Good afternoon. I am Alliance Catherine Walker. Thank you for me and in my family. Thank you very much, everything.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Lindell Lawrence. Lindell Lawrence? No? Okay. Julia Cieza? Cieza? I'm sure I murdered that. I apologize.
My name is Julissa. Yo trabajo para Sodexo en United Club en el aeropuerto de Newark. My name is Jalissa, and I work for Sodexo at United Club for Newark Airport. I work as a food prep in the airport concessions industry. Les quiero dar las gracias a todos ustedes por la propuesta salarial que dieron a todos los trabajadores, que esto significará mucho para mí, para mi familia y para los compañeros de trabajo. I want to thank you for proposing a new wage policy. This means so much for me and for my family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carrie Diaz. Is there a Carrie Diaz?
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Cari Díaz y trabajo para Flying Food Group Newark por 16 años en el área de empaque de la comida caliente. También soy miembro de la local 1102.
Good afternoon, my name is Cari Diaz. I work for Flying Food in Newark, New Jersey. I have been working there for the past 16 years in the hot plate preparation kitchen, and I am also a member of Local 1102.
Y en nombre de mi compañero y el mío propio, queremos darle las gracias por habernos incluido en la decisión del aumento del sueldo mínimo. Es algo que no solo cambiará la vida de mi compañero, sino también la mía propia. Gracias por su decisión.
And on behalf of my coworkers and myself, I would like to thank you for making this decision of including all the catering workers in this new minimum wage raise. This is certainly something that would not only change my life, but also the life of my coworkers. And also on behalf of the RWDSU President, Stuart Applebaum, and our President of Local 1102, Alvin Ramarain, I would like to thank you for this decision, and we'll see you in 90 days.
Thank you very much. Faye Bernardian. Sir Faye Bernardian. Michael Imbongo is next.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Faye Bernardino. I work in United Airlines Catering Department. I just want to say thank you on all behalf of my coworkers. Thank you for proposing a new wage policy, and I'm so grateful about that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Michael, followed by Carol Court.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. Boarding meeting. My name is Michelle Mike Kahanja Imbongo. I work with the catering United Airlines at Newark International Airport. I want to thank you for proposing a new wage policy today. This means a lot for us and for our families. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carol Court. Is Carol Court here? Brunilda Laura?
Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Brunilda Laura, and I have worked for 13 years as a worker at the Newark Airport. I'm proud to stand with you all here today, my brothers and sisters. Thank you, Commissioner. Turn to the Governor Murphy and Governor of New York, Cuomo. I would like to say thank you to all of you. It's really, really good job you have done with us. We've been fighting for this a long time, and I think we deserve it. I really appreciate your help, and I really, really make a good decision to be here today. I'm really proud to be here and be part of this decision today. We really be working, fighting together for our dreams. When I came to this country, there is a word that old people say, that this is the country where the dream comes through, and it really is. And I'm proud to be part of the USA, and I'm a citizen of the United States, and I'm really proud of it. Thank you to all of you to be part of this, and you have the power to make everything different. Thank you to 32BJ for support us, and thank you to you. God bless your family, and God bless our family. Thank you, and have a good day.
Thank you very much. Last speaker is Charlene Tellerico.
Good afternoon. It all rides on integrity. What is integrity? A brief definition of integrity is the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles. Synonyms of integrity: honesty, decency, fairness, sincerity, truthfulness, trustworthiness. Unfortunately, I have seen none of this in the handling of my plight since I begged for assistance regarding the abusive, hostile environment I was forced to endure at the Lincoln Tunnel. Mary Lee, the Chief of Human Capital, Rebecca, Assistant Director of Human Resources, and Christina, Manager of Talent Acquisitions, continuously refused to assist me prior to and after I was assaulted by Diane Eller. TB&T Management, Lincoln Tunnel Management, along with Human Resources, used PA Medical as a tool to further the harassment I was receiving rather than address the situations and issues at the Lincoln Tunnel. The Law Department advised both Chairman Degnan and Chairman O'Toole not to speak with me because of the pending criminal charges against Diane Eller. Why would they tell them not to speak with me, the victim, yet they allowed Diane Eller to be promoted with criminal charges pending against her? The Inspector General's office continuously ignored PA policy by refusing to assist me, even on the day I was assaulted by Diane Eller. And let's not forget Detective Gaunt lying to the Weehawken prosecutor. Where is the integrity in any of these instances? The rank and file of the Port Authority have more integrity than many of the current management staff. Mr. O'Toole, Mr. Cotton, I believe you both really want to make positive changes here at the Port Authority. Those changes need to start with the upper echelon of the Port Authority, especially in human resources. The actions and behavior of upper management should be beyond reproach. They all need to manage with integrity. I look forward to seeing you make this happen. Thank you, and enjoy your day.
Thank you very much. We'll now proceed with the voting of items before the board today for consideration, which each of the respective committee chairs will provide a brief report and prior to the matter being considered by the board. Vice Chair Linford, as Chair of the Committee of Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, will now provide us with a report on certain items before the board for consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Chair of the Committee on Capital Planning, Execution, and Asset Management, I will now report on certain items under the committee's purview. The first item authorizes $9.2 million in planning to develop a project to address rehabilitation of the structural elements for the outer bridge crossing. Prior to making a motion on this item, I would ask the Corporate Secretary to note any Commissioner recusals on this matter.
No recusals.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. Do any of the Commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I will now request a motion and a second on this item.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. I will now request the Corporate Secretary to call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger? Yes. Commissioner Horwitz? Yes. Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Yes. Commissioner McDonald? Yes. Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado? Yes. Commissioner Turner?
As the votes are in order, the item is approved. The next item authorizes $600,000 and planning for a project to improve lighting at the George Washington Bridge Trans-Manhattan Expressway and to upgrade related electrical infrastructure. Prior to making a motion on this item, I would ask the Corporate Secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
No recusals.
Thank you. Do any of the commissioners have any questions or comments on this item? Hearing none, I will now request a motion and a second on this item.
Second.
Thank you. I will now request the Corporate Secretary to call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger? Yes. Commissioner Horwitz? Yes. Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe? Yes. Commissioner McDonald? Yes. Commissioner Pacino?
Yes.
Commissioner Rosado? Yes. Commissioner Turner?
As the votes are in order, the item is approved, and I'm back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I will now ask Commissioner Hall to provide his report as Vice Chair of the Audit.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pursuant to its authority under the bylaws and its charter, the members of the Audit Committee have reviewed and approved the Port Authority's financial statements and appended notes for the year ended December 31st, 2017. As such, the committee recommends to the Board that the financial statements be included in the Port Authority's comprehensive annual financial report and other publications as appropriate. Prior to making a motion to this item, I would ask the Corporate Secretary to note any commissioner recusals on this matter.
No recusals.
I would now request a motion on the item.
Second.
I will request the Corporate Secretary call the roll for voting on this item.
Chairman O'Toole?
Yes.
Vice Chairman Linford?
Yes.
Commissioner Bagger?
Yes.
Commissioner Horwitz?
Yes.
Commissioner LaBarbera?
Yes.
Commissioner McCabe?
Yes.
Commissioner McDonald?
Yes.
Commissioner Pacino? Yes. Commissioner Rosado? Yes. Commissioner Turner?
As the votes are in order, the item is approved, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Aye. So moved. Meeting adjourned. Job well done.
Thank you very much.